Hello, and welcome to EPR with your favorite environmental nerds, Nic and Laura. On today's episode, Nic and I finished fleshing out our horror trilogy. We talked to Nicole Beck about aquatic chemistry, ultimate Frisbee, and translating policy. And finally, Frisbee is a brand, just like Kleenex. Frisbee was inspired by the Frisbee Pie Company in the 1940s when students at Yale started tossing empty pie tins, whatever.
I thought you said beds, and I was like, Laura, I don't think that's possible.
What's the rest of the story, Nic?
I mean, that's it. They just started throwing pie tins, and they were like, we should keep doing this. So let's just do that, and we'll call it Frisbee. And then it became a thing. and that's kind of wild. And it's like the 1940s. It's not, well, I guess it's like what, less than 100 years ago. It seems like it's always been around. So that's funny to me. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, hit that music.
This year's conference includes presentations and conversations on topics such as community forestry, climate-smart wood supply chains, wildfire, carbon offsets, connections between forestry and water flows, state lands, and forest carbon science. With this breadth of topics, we hope to encourage forest management that looks beyond a single objective and recognizes the complexity and interconnectedness of forestry systems in our relationship to them. Register now at www.give.waconservationaction.org.
Okay, so do you have a sponsor in you? 30 seconds.
Literally, I just made it up right now. Okay, let's go.
Ready, go.
Are you tired of your feet aching after a long day of hiking? Do you wish that you didn't have to have boots? Well, don't worry. With our patented foot removal service, now you'll never have to wear shoes again. I'm telling you. You talk to footsbegone.com. You go to footsbegone.com. Our licensed professionals will absolutely remove your feet at no cost to you. We really just love feet. I don't know why I said that. And Foots Be Gone. There you go. And if that's not 30 seconds, it really needs to be because there's nothing else I can say.
That's just under. Patented. That got me.
Foots Be Gone. Yeah. That literally just came to me. That's great.
Nice. I like how no matter what, you're just like, yeah, I'm going to try.
We'll see what happens. That's always the fun part, you know?
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it does not.
Awesome. Let's get to our segment.
Somebody IM'd me the other day and was like, the bad guy from our horror movie, the Urn, could have been Urn-E. You know? That's like, oh my God. That was hilarious.
I love that, but more than that, I love that they were actually listening and then contributed to the concept.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got our initial and our sequel lined up, and then I was like trying to think of other character. Words with Urn in it. Yeah. It's got to be a trilogy, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the. Words containing Urn. What a search.
Is Ernie an attorney?
Oh my gosh. There's got to be like a law thing in there. And that like he was wrongly killed, you know, because he lost a case or something. Or the mob got to him.
Yeah, we need Mike Mayer. He can
help
the story.
Right. That's hilarious. I shouldn't be thinking of the return. We've got 3, the journey.
Right.
Oh wait, no. If it's law, it's adjourn. The adjourn.
Right. Oh yeah. That's the third one. The adjournment.
That's the third one. The adjournment. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I love it. I mean, it's almost Halloween, right?
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
The return 3, the adjournment. Oh, man.
All right, so recap. What do we got? Part 1.
Part 1 is the urn, right?
Right.
And then at the end of the urn, we learned that there were actually 2 urns this whole time. So even though you got rid of the one, there's another one. and that's the return. And now the part 3 is the adjournment, because Ernie is a lawyer of some kind. So there we go. That's,
right. And then we have resolution. So that works.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's perfect. It all gets wrapped up. And then 10 years later, we do the whole thing over again. Right. Yeah. And we just call it the Urn again. And it's like the remake. Yeah.
Right.
So we got our whole storyboard done. We're Hollywood, call us right now.
I know, right? Well, I got the team. So we just got to, wait till summer.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of cemeteries up here. So we'll just go out and grab an urn. I mean, do we need a cemetery? You don't need a cemetery for an urn.
Yeah. Well, a mausoleum, right?
Right.
That's what you need. Yeah. An internment area. Anyone else? Part 4? Did I just do part 4?
That's part 4 when it's 10 years later,
Yeah, or because we have to jump the shark. We have to go, there has to be a point where another Urn movie. Ugh.
Right.
The first two were great.
But 3.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
Pirates when they went into 4 or 5, no.
I know.
Why?
I know. It's just diminishing returns, law of diminishing averages.
And returning to the Hobbit, nope.
Yeah.
Stop at 3.
The Hobbit was brutal because it's what if we take what should be a 2-hour movie and make it 12 hours long? And you're maybe don't do that. Maybe I have a suggestion. Don't. Because it's a good story. It's just they made 3 full movies. That's just wild. Yeah,
and there was just something too about the characters. They didn't seem as genuine as the originals. There's something wrong with them. They were so weird. It was just off.
How they shot it apparently was too high def.
Yeah.
So you could see all their makeup lines, and it's they just
maybe that's what it was. It just was this doesn't feel like fantasy. It looks it's weird.
Yeah.
I can't picture it as an imaginary thing. Yeah, it's kind of torturous.
I know. Well, this is definitely super relevant to what we talked about today, right? On your interview. But yeah.
Well,
the return of the Urn. I'm just saying.
It's relevant to the time of year, and sometimes you just need to laugh. So it's all good.
Go. All right. And this is going to be the episode before Halloween. So happy Halloween, everybody.
Right. All right. Let's get to talking to Nicole.
Sweet.
Welcome back to EPR. Today we have Nicole Beck, CEO and founder of Second Nature, on the show. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, nice to be here. Hi, Laura.
Awesome. So how are things in Santa Cruz?
Yeah. Santa Cruz, California, they're good. Fall in this town is lovely. Typically, we don't have a lot of fog, although today is kind of the new normal is unpredictable. We have a huge fog bank that came in with a large swell. So it feels like June instead of October. But,
that's cool. Yeah. Do you surf?
I do. I try to. I have a couple of young kids, so they keep me busy with lots of activities. But I did get in the water this week, and it's part of the perks of living in this town.
Yeah, right. I've been there one time. It was so cool. I got some really awesome pictures, and I think it was a place that was like a laundromat and a cafe or something. It's really, really cool. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Maybe. I mean, I know those exist here. So,
yeah. I just thought the vibe there is so great. Did you grow up in California?
I did. I grew up in on the other side of San Francisco Bay in Marin County, went to Berkeley undergrad, and then really wanted to come to Santa Cruz. So it was one of the top grad schools that I applied to, and lucky enough to be here. And then once I got out of grad school, figured out a way to stay. And it's
that's awesome.
I'm envious of my children. They are junior lifeguards in the summer, and lots of great water sports, and the redwoods and forest is amazing. So it's a good place for people who care about the environment and our natural resources for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, so you ended up there and not only got your master's, but got a doctorate of philosophy, geology, and earth sciences, but your focus was on aquatic chemistry. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly right. It was an interesting journey. Came in and worked with an environmental toxicologist around water and lead isotopes and tracking pollution, and then transferred over and worked with a chemical oceanographer, probably one of my most coveted leaders in his ability to communicate really complex concepts in a simple way was so intriguing to me. And so that led me to being really fascinated about how our urban and any types of land management affect the chemistry and biogeochemical cycling of water.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Aquatic chemistry, I took all the chemistries, not all of them, but the ones that you have to take, and they're so hard. What was your draw to that? Like just the connection to connecting it all in the data, or like what makes someone go, aquatic chemistry, that's me?
Yeah, I know. Did not go in. I did the same thing. I took all the chemistries in undergrad, and OChem is really complex. Inorganic chemistry, which is really where my expertise came from, is all about a lot of nutrient cycling and how, again, urban landscapes or agriculture or any types of land use impacts change the way that aquatic systems function. And that kind of chemical change is so critical in how it supports the ecosystems, right? Everything that lives or relies upon that water. So understanding that connection between the chemical processes to the larger ecosystems, it seemed, as I really intrigued by how ecosystems work, that getting a clear understanding of the chemical, the foundation or the fundamental pieces of that really led to a better understanding of how ecosystems either naturally evolve or are impacted by humans and our land management decisions. So,
yeah, that's really cool. So, what kind of projects did you work? I mean, when I ask what kind of projects did you work on, like, did you go out and collect samples and bring them back? What were you physically doing?
In grad school. Yeah. I went in natural systems. So I was really interested in bays, kind of, freshwater, near shore conditions. So either San Francisco Bay, I did a bunch of work there, and then in a couple of coastal estuaries in Central California. And a lot of the work, yes, some decent amount of sampling, temporal sampling on how a lot of it focused on oxygen depletion. So we over fertilize or over enrich a water body of nutrients, and it blooms. It produces, and that creates a pretty significant impact on all of the chemistry within that waterway. So the depletion of oxygen, how does that affect now other types of elements? Where does the oxygen come from when it's anoxic? And again, that's a huge impact on the organisms that live in that. So I did a lot on, it's called redox chemistry. So if you don't have oxygen, then, the organisms start using manganese oxide or, hydrogen sulfate. That changes the livability of the waters. And so a lot of the data collection you can do a lot of that with samples as well as with sondes. And so really high resolution frequency data to look at the changes of oxygen and the chemistry within those. So one of the papers that I wrote was about a hyperventilating pond in a local estuary, because every day it would get depleted with oxygen because the respiration, and then water would flush through and it would get reoxygenated from the tidal flows. And so you could pick up these huge swings in oxygen temporally, or similarly, natural systems stratify vertically. Lots of oxygen in the surface, a lot depleted in the bottom. And that has, again, huge implications for supporting the organisms that live in it. So,
yeah, that's really neat. So what made you decide to continue on to get your PhD? Was that an easy decision, or something you had to, like, for anyone listening who may be considering that? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, well, I think I went into grad school really wanting to, again, bring science to decision makers, science to policy, or people who make investment decisions to protect waterways, which ultimately I had already connected that is land management. And after undergrad, I didn't feel like I had enough expertise in a particular area. And again, had a great opportunity to work with an amazing professor. And it was, learning something new every day is exciting. Consider myself a struggling intellectual still. And so to stay into grad school and be able to really dig into particular areas of knowledge and be able to think about how to apply that to a profession, it took a little bit longer. So But it was great. I will never regret my time in graduate school. It was super rewarding. And it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, and that's cool. So a lot of people, when they get their PhD, they're either thinking of getting into like academia or research, combination of both, but you jumped right into being CEO of a company. Is that right? Like, did you go right from school to that?
Yeah, interesting, right? Yeah. So now I'm a CEO of a technology company. When I got out of undergrad, I started in consulting, not undergrad, grad school. And that seemed to be the best place to have that opportunity to work with local governments and local agencies on their decision support tools, collecting data and information to really say something about, where do we make investments and then what is the impact of those investments? And so through that kind of decade, Second Nature was formed really right when I got out of grad school. And we worked up and down California in a bunch of different applications. So working with fuels management and forest management to reduce forest fire hazard. We did project, and that was with, the Forest Service. We'd work with conservancies on stream restoration and meadow restoration. How do you collect data to then, prioritize where restoration of streams would improve, again, meadow function and floodplain interactions, and do decision support tools for that group. We worked on rural roads and, sediment generation and kind of the environmental impacts of dirt. Just roads in general have a huge impact on how our waterways function. And when they're not managed or maintained right, they can generate a significant amount of sediment and degrade the health of streams.
Right.
And then same with urban landscapes and urban stormwater. And so with every single one of those different projects, we would come in and, we'd have 2 to 3 years, we would collect data, we would understand, what the challenges were for those different types of land managers, what tools did they have available, mostly modeling approaches, right? We can't measure everywhere. So we have to have models and understand then how to make improvements on that to really streamline the data that they are collecting and using that to continue to quantify what are the benefits of our investments and where would we then invest next. And as we did that over and over again, I kept seeing, me and the core team that I'm still with me since that journey was we just had reports that would sit on the shelf. And we had, productware or, cool, whether it was a customized Excel spreadsheet that would automate the data analytics and reporting, right? Or we did a number of different types of applications. Those would sit on the shelf and we would be funded to do the next project or the next cool thing. And it was time to figure out how to make a leap and try to really operationalize that science to policy and decision-making in a sustained manner. I
love this. As a sort of serial entrepreneur, I love hearing stories of especially women just jumping out there and jumping in head first. But like, I'm still trying to picture this. You graduate with a PhD in essentially aquatic chemistry, and then you're CEO of a company. That's a whole different skill set. How did you just learn on the fly? Where you already have like this strategic kind of mindset? You were picturing it as you're going. How did this thing, come out of nowhere?
Yeah, it's a good question. And there are so many things that I'm very uncomfortable about as a leader of a company still. And I've been doing it for a long time now. But it just, pursuing that passion and getting the opportunities and getting more and more projects, well, then we need more capacity and we need more people. And through that, you start having to figure out, the other sides of business and how do you navigate, budgets and HR packages and, a bunch of different things. And that was just kind of, okay, I guess, got to figure this out. And who do I know that could potentially help me or advise me on this part of it, right? Really good at science and data and analytics. But I would say solve the problems as they came and have made a bajillion mistakes. And I think, not being afraid to fail has been probably one of my biggest assets, because you just get back up and try it again.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that, I mean, you're 18 years in now, right? So that's really impressive. And it takes so much courage to do that. So congratulations on all of that. But let's talk now, it's Second to Nature is the company, and you're the industry leading provider of MS4 stormwater program compliance and management software. So, just talk more about like what services you provide now. Like, what is it that you do day to day?
Yeah. Well, so we have two products. One, state and local government. And again, as we, made this decision, like, okay, if we really, me and my team really want to influence decision makers, we need to be able to scale the science and the decision support tools that are available in a particular sector. And through that kind of initial exploration of all the different land managers and fields, et cetera, urban stormwater was a place that we saw the best opportunity. There's the Clean Water Act has created a requirement into every city, county, DOT, university in the country that they must comply with what is called a MS4 is the acronym, but a stormwater permit to discharge urban runoff and the runoff that generated from their city into local waterways. And with that, all of these programs across, all these cities, counties, entities across the country have stormwater programs. They have spend in budgets, and they have people that are trying to solve, at least stay in compliance with the requirement. But from our perspective of, again, understanding the effects of land management on the quality of water, that they could go beyond compliance with better tools and data. And, that was through our journey, really, I'm not a geographer by training, but that, have become an indoctrinated GIS believer that if we're going to get information and decision, data and decisions to, help those who have to make decisions, maps are a huge way to analyze and visualize and report where investments could be best used. And then also what are the effects of our investments. So we've created a software product for state and local governments. We started in 2017 as kind of a proof of concept of like, okay, let's take one of those, decision support tools I was talking about and really double down on making it a scalable product and offering it to more stormwater programs, particularly in California is where we started. GIS-based, centralize and organize all of the data and information that you have that are required under that permit, put it into GIS, and bring all your teams into a single digital system, right? A lot of these programs, as we see across the country, and now we're in 17 states, and we have, nearly 100 customers, that really they all have been managing these programs without that larger kind of system context and just trying to keep up with compliance. And so it's been a really great journey to dive in now more specifically to one of these problems, help the organization in the efficiency of data that they already have to collect, and then be able to help them use that to like, okay, now how are we going to mitigate the impacts of urban management, not just on the water quality, but we have adaptive capacity opportunities by putting that water back into the ground, using green infrastructure to start bringing down ambient temperatures. We're seeing, I can't avoid now in the news every time with just the intensity of rain and precipitation events. And so that's, there's a huge flooding impact locally that's just getting worse. And then local communities are the ones challenged to manage this. So that's the journey from the initial, we're trying to help solve these decision-making tools, to let's really dig into one of these sectors, one of these problems, and try to support that.
Very cool. Well, and you mentioned, the GIS and mapping, and you did a webinar a couple weeks ago with Sunny Fleming, one of our favorite repeat guests from Esri. So was that what you were talking about, like your programs or a specific project?
Yeah, no. So that specific software product, it's called To Inform, right? We think that's punny. To inform better decisions, right? And TrueInform is our state and local government software product. And we're a huge Esri partner now. We are their Stormwater GIS system. And so, yeah, the podcast with Sunny was great. It was essentially what I just talked about. And we brought one of our successful users, the city of Salinas and stormwater manager there, Heidi. And she talked about her journey from where she was before kind of, the drudgery of compliance and where a lot of these programs are, and where she is now having, lunch with her city council and city leadership, talking about the opportunities to, what better management of stormwater can do for local environmental equity challenges. A lot of the places in the cities that are the, most challenged from flooding and pollution are, the disadvantaged areas of the cities. And just the opportunities that she can communicate to her leadership in maps, where the areas are to prioritize investment, what their strategy is for spending investment and why they would do it in certain sequences, and what would they get for those investments, both from a community perspective, but also water quality and flooding.
Yeah, that sounds great. And another project that you're working on is with the Nature Conservancy. That sounds really cool. What's happening there?
Yeah. So that's a different product. Yeah, we try not to do projects. So we have two software products. We have the state and local, and that one has been the one that we've been on the journey with for, like I said, the last 5-6 years. And then we recently partnered with the Nature Conservancy and one of the largest REITs in the country, Real Estate Investment Trust. So they own a large amount of property across the country, large amount of pavement. They manage 3 times more stormwater than they do what comes out of their tap. And that's one of the things that we embed our science into our product, and we try as much as possible to peer review our science. So that's one example, is a method to quantify the amount of stormwater runoff across the country. So the product with Nature Conservancy is focused at either corporations or large business owners or large property owners. LA County Schools is a great example, and we have a partner using Rain Steward, that's that product, to identify where would you, best manage stormwater to have the greatest environmental benefits. Be able to profile a property anywhere in the US and then aggregate that information into your portfolio. How much stormwater they manage, how much pollution do they generate, and then what is the potential opportunity for them to prioritize where would you go make improvements and bring with that CapEx, so capital investment offsets, grants, and different types of funding opportunities. Again, environmental equity, the infrastructure bill, there's a large amount of money and opportunities there to do better, more resilient development, and then operational cost reductions. So yeah, that one is a really nascent, we launched that product in July, and we're just getting going on that market. Yeah, it's really exciting. And every time we have a conversation with various corporations or, different types of groups who do manage either a small amount of properties or a large number of properties, that, it's this not well tapped or well understood resource that we all manage. I mean, even, you get stormwater at your house, right? Mm-hmm. And a little bit of change of putting that water back into the ground where it falls, and doing that with greening and different types of or capture and reuse opportunities can really help us make a significant amount of progress, I think, on adapting to a changing climate, addressing water security issues and flooding, et cetera. So
that's great. And then with the products, can you talk, I don't want you to give any secrets or anything, but talk a little bit about how they work. Are you pulling public data? How is it behind the scenes as a tech company being pulled together?
Yeah. Well, there's tons of available data like that. Yes, we are pulling as much publicly available spatial data as we can. There's large amount of data that can be transformed into information. And I think that's something that we excel at a spatial scale. So if we take the state and local government or the municipalities, We use national data sets, we use regional data sets, and then we use local data sets. Those all can be, embedded in the back of the product to help inform whatever those, transformation of the data is. And then at the state and local, they are required to collect an inordinate amount of data. And so what we help them do is put that all into a GIS framework. They can check their compliance box. Yep, we've done these inspections, we've done these evaluations, we've collected these samples, and we transform and integrate that data now with, again, other, geographic factors or social or economic factors to make, depending upon what the questions of the data are. And then it renders both maps to prioritize what we call, whether it's, we like to see them as opportunities, but where are the greatest risks? And then as changes are made on the landscape, the data that is collected, we help them do that in a way that it would be sensitive to positive improvements. So, right, we want the data sets and the information to say, hey, this was a, degraded catchment, or this was an area that had too much runoff or too much pollution. You've invested these various, you've optimized your street sweeping program, or maybe you've put in some green infrastructure, and now you can show the progress as a result of those investments and be able to demonstrate and verify that change. So.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a team of programmers or GIS people?
Yes.
Tell us about your people.
Yeah, my people are awesome. So yeah, we have, what we like to call ourselves stormwater PhDs. So we have a whole science group that have been really, again, thinking about this applied science problem in stormwater. It's not academic, and it's not traditionally what the land managers, I think, approach, or that, we're really trying to bring some academic principles, but in practical ways. So GIS experts in addition. So I have a ton of folks who have got, they're absolute GIS, Esri, and geographic experts. And then, we have a software development team. They're full stack developers in there, right? So they're generating and creating all of the code and turning these, we love turning our great science ideas into an actual operational product. And then, of course, we have a whole sales and marketing and commercial side of the business to keep all our fun science and software development going.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So in the coding and stuff, you're embedding scientific methods in there?
100%. Yeah. And we do our best to, we really want to make what we're embedding in there defensible. And so we've published, I think we're on our 7th publication right now. So we take and we figure out the analytics with our science team, how, what's the data? How will that be transformed? How would it be rendered? And then we put those into peer-reviewed science and we publish them. We really wanted to make sure that we preserved our kind of academic credibility and, make that open science as much as possible. And then, it comes into the product. And so that, if we think about the journey of answering management questions, the industry and all of these industries, I think, really get hyper-focused when you get a project, now not a product, on the data collection. Okay, what data are we going to collect? And theoretically can connect that data to the problem you're trying to, the question you're trying to ask. But I think what differentiates us is that we really force ourselves not just on the data collection. How's it going to be managed? How's it going to be reported? And how's it going to be visualized, analyzed and visualized so that format can be brought back to the people who have to make those decisions. And that is such an uncomfortable place to be in. It is much easier to say, here's my sampling plan. Here's all the data I'm going to collect. And then I'll figure it out later. We're going to analyze it and give you a report. So by forcing ourselves to go all the way through that reporting, I think it really helps then bring that science to life and help us articulate why are we collecting that data in the first place and how will it be used to answer ultimately the environmental questions you have. Yeah,
that's very cool. So looking forward, what is it that you've got coming up that you're excited about on the horizon?
Yeah, excited. I would, it's really our relationship and our partnership with Esri has been amazing and continue to have opportunities. The stormwater departments at any organization that has a stormwater program manager has kind of a loose relationship with their GIS departments. They may ask for some maps, or there are requirements to have certain maps, but we're really bringing those two professionals within a local agency together, and it's opening up both, I think, the GIS team's awareness of like, oh, wow, this is actually really cool. It's not just this compliance thing. It is like environmental watershed-based management with an organization of all the data that could really help our city, not just with stormwater, but now with urban planning and with flooding and other types of things, versus the stormwater manager on the other side, really spending a lot of time. And I think the focus of their program has been on, I just need to comply, reactive space. And so we're seeing a lot of our users in our community starting to be more proactive and more excited about like, oh yeah, okay, cool. We've got that compliance thing under control. We got to keep an eye on it, but it's way more efficient. So now I can start thinking about, where can I help and be a leader within my agency, collaborate with traffic, collaborate with parks and rec, collaborate with community development, and start thinking more, holistically about opportunities that stormwater touches. So that's super exciting for us.
That's great. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, let's move on to our section of the show called Field Notes. This is where we talk to our guests about memorable moments in the field, and we encourage our listeners to share their own field stories using the hashtag Field Notes. And so, you did all this great sampling, and this could be even a time in the quote unquote field with clients or customers, but anything you can share with us that was memorable for you?
Yeah. Well, there's so many memorable things. I think as we've gone on this journey, one of the things, if we're going to collect, and I'm just going to talk about kind of my philosophy of collecting data,
sure,
and how to use it. And I think when we collect data, thinking about what is influencing the data that you are collecting and how can that data be more efficiently collected? That's something that we always are trying to do, right? It's like things are not static. The environment is not static, and there's lots of variability. So how can we constrain the variability that we know inherently exists and sample the signal that we want? And that goes down to, I think a lot of it is around precision between, two methods or two people, or, that we may not always be accurate. We like to say we'd rather be relatively accurate than precisely wrong. Right? So understand that continuum of what are we looking at? What's the signal that we're trying to sample? And then develop methods or ways to collect or evaluate that data that are precise, so that there is a reliability in the outcomes of that I think are super critical to the environmental field of anybody that is trying to now advance, again, decision making and investment. So precision and rather be relatively right than precisely wrong. It seems silly, but it has been a guide to really try to help, get past data collection and get more towards reporting, visualization, and helping folks solve big problems, honestly.
Yeah. Now, is that related to the Team PIG?
Yeah. That's a funny story. In 2019, as we were becoming fledgling that transition from, okay, we're an environmental consultancy to a technology company, we went through a Techstars Nature Conservancy Accelerator program. And so that was, try to get a lot of these entrepreneurs who are environmentalists and developing some sort of tech for the environmental world to mature into a tech group. And they just throw all these different types of webinars and certain things at you. And one of them that they threw at us was team values. Here's the way you got to go in and you got to, you're going to build a team and you need to be able to quickly articulate your team culture, your team values. And and the person who ran that particular seminar was so enthusiastic and talked about these 4 H's, 4 words that start with H for an hour. It was incredible. We're like, oh my God, that's a lot of energy and good for you. So, our team is really, we're all struggling intellectuals. We all try to not take ourselves too seriously. We don't think we're right, but we're onto something and we want to adapt. So on that particular one, we're like, okay, we got to, let's tackle this. So we sat around a room, might have had some beer, and just started throwing kind of words that we thought matched our company, and trying to figure out what that value thing was. And at one point, one of the vegetarians in the room was like, well, I like pigs. They're super intelligent and they're team oriented. And we're like, what is he talking about? And then we look up at the word thing and it's like, oh, we have passion, integrity, growth, and teammates or teamwork. We're like, oh my God, that's it. We are team pig. Pig, it was kind of right around, the goat was kind of the greatest of all time. We're like, okay, pig's the new goat. Like we now have literally a life-size metal mascot that everyone signs. That's a pig. And it went from this kind of like high level, like, anxiety. How the heck are we going to do this? How is this going to be meaningful to like, wow, we actually it's pretty cool. The entire team rallies around Team Pig. We have a mascot. I don't know. I think probably the majority of the team doesn't eat pig anymore. Anyway, it was really fun experience.
Irony is always fun, right?
That's great.
That's great. Yeah. Well, before we go, let's jump off into your hobbies, because Ultimate Frisbee, I have several friends who play, but I don't know any who are in the Hall of Fame until now. So, but this article that you shared said that her speed and vision on the field were a lethal combination. They made you sound like a gazelle. So now I'm like, oh, I want to watch her play. So how long have you been playing? How did you make it all the way to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that was undergrad. I played soccer and then looked for another way to stay involved in sports, and played my last year of college at Ultimate. Amazing community. The Ultimate community is so tight-knit, and it was really a great way to continue to, foster my competitive side, build amazing teams, went from, playing on top teams to then forming a team that now, ironically, they are competing. It's Fury, San Francisco Fury. They've been around since we formed them in 1997. They're at the national championships right now.
Wow,
I think
that's awesome.
Games yesterday, down in San Diego, a bunch of my cohorts down there with them, because there's another round of Hall of Fame inductions there. But it was just a leader on a really kind of transformation of a particular team that went from, we're going to bring in, young talent. We're going to, try to change the way that women's teams are played. And it was, it's kind of similar to my work journey a little bit. Like, we're going to try something different. It's a little bit out in front. It took a while to get going, but now I think Fury might be the most winningest women's Ultimate Frisbee team out there.
Wow,
and,
congrats. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and just, I kind of said at the beginning, but no fear of failure, or just the ability to adapt to failure. That is inherent in sports. Yeah. And it helps in all parts of life for sure. So
that's amazing. Congratulations. We are running out of time. Is there anything else you want to talk about we didn't get to today, or thoughts you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think just that, that as we, and continue on this journey of stormwater is an untapped opportunity. I hope that the listeners will just, think a little bit more about the rain that falls in your neighborhood. And if we as, communities can start thinking about how to change the way that we manage that, it'll immediately, I think, advance our ability to adapt to increasing temperatures, increasing severity of storms, and that the White House recent climate resilience initiative that came out, there's so much good stuff in there, but one of the things I thought was really noteworthy is that for every dollar that is spent on kind of building local resilience or building sustainability, making better decisions about how we, manage our landscapes, is worth $6 in avoided kind of, disaster release cost, and that it just, I think as a generation, how we make those decisions about managing our landscapes to adapt to coming climate and make us more resilient. The stormwater has a role in that, and it's been on the periphery, but I think it's a real opportunity. So continue to fight that fight. And I encourage any environmental groups and scientists and professionals to just, continue to fight the good fight.
Right, for sure. That's perfect. That's what we're all here trying to do, and appreciate your time here. But before we go, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so our company, the Second Nature, our website is secondnaturewater.com. Tons of information there. And, or you can probably easily find me on LinkedIn or anywhere else. I'm around.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. It's been great.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Laura. Thanks for all that you all do too. It's great. Love your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's our show. Thank you, Nicole, for joining us today. Please be sure to check us out each and every Friday. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Bye.
See you, everybody.